Hi, neighbor. The episode you're about to hear was recorded in my backyard on the anniversary of my mother's passing. I hadn't planned to record an episode that day. In fact, I was simply outside taking a walk to clear my head and give myself some grace on a difficult anniversary. As I walked, thoughts began flooding my mind, and I realized they were worth sharing. So I pulled out my phone and decided to have a conversation with you. What you'll hear in this episode are the thoughts, reflections, and observations that surfaced that day. In many ways, my body remembered the significance of the day before my mind had a chance to catch up. Grief has a way of doing that. This episode is real and raw. You'll hear birds singing in the background, and yes, you'll probably hear my dogs barking too. Normally, I might edit those things out, but this time they felt appropriate. They remind us that life doesn't pause while we're processing difficult emotions. As I walked and reflected, I found myself thinking not only about my own journey, but also about the emotional challenges our adopted children often face. My hope is that by sharing these reflections openly and honestly, you'll find encouragement for your own journey. More than that, I hope you'll discover practical tools that can help you process difficult emotions and help your children navigate theirs as well. My prayer is that this episode blesses you and encourages you. Most importantly, I want you to know that you're not alone. There are so many of us who have walked this path, who have faced these struggles, and who in some respects are still walking through them today. If this conversation helps you feel seen, understood, or a little less alone, then my mission has been accomplished. When your adoptive home is filled with chaos, fear, and hard behaviors, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and alone. Hi, neighbor. I'm Tim Maudlin, an adoptive dad who's been in the trenches. This is Adoption Struggles and Support, a podcast for adoptive parents facing chaos, fear, and hard behaviors who want a safer, more peaceful home. Here you'll find practical biblical guidance and real-life anchors you can hold on to in the hardest moments. Anchors of hope and healing are on the way. Before we get into today's episode, I want to invite you into a private community I created just for adoptive parents. If you've ever sat in the quiet after a hard day with your adopted child and wondered, am I the only one going through this? You're not. I've been there too. That's why I created this community. It's a place where adoptive parents encourage each other, pray for one another, and share wisdom from the journey. Inside the group, I also post weekly encouragement and resources that I don't share on the podcast. Practical tools to help you navigate the real challenges of adoptive parenting. If you're in a difficult season with your adopted child, you don't have to walk it alone. You can join us right now at timsuggest.com/community. That's timsuggest.com/community. You'll also find the link in the show notes. Come join us, and let's walk this road together, one step, one prayer, one season at a time. I woke up this morning, and my chest was hurting. It wasn't that out of breath hurting. I didn't believe I was having a heart attack. Thankfully, I've never had one, but I imagine the pain is much more sharp and severe. Nonetheless, my chest was hurting, and it felt heavy. I wasn't surprised because I knew the day was approaching. Because this day was the anniversary of my mother's passing. I've talked a lot about that day on this podcast. For those of you who are new to the show, my mom had been in and out of rehab and finally had to go to the hospital for an emergency surgery. She survived the surgery, and we were preparing for her to go to another rehab stint to regain her strength so hopefully she could come home. I woke up early that morning and there was a text from my sister that said, "You need to get here." I was 40 miles away. I got dressed and got there as quickly as I could. And when I got off of the elevator, I heard an announcement over the intercom, code blue. There was a nurse standing next to me heading down that way. I said, "That's my mother." I knew it had to be. When I got to her room, there was a team of nurses and doctors frantically giving her CPR. Off to the side, I saw my brother and sister sitting with just helplessness across their faces. For the next several minutes, they tried to revive her. And finally, they did. They got her heart beating again. But the attending physician turned to us and said she was too far gone, that she would not last much longer. Once they left the room, my brother, sister, and I stood by her bed, my brother on one side, I on the other, so we could each hold her hand. And we stayed with her until she took her last breath. That's something that has stayed with me now these several years since she has passed. And each year around this time, I start to feel that heaviness. So this morning when I felt the heaviness in my heart again, I knew what it was. My body remembered the anxiety, the frustration, the hurt, and the loss of that day. I tell that story because for those of you who are adoptive parents, we have children who have hurts that they've gone through, whether it was in the womb or sometime after they were born, where it became necessary for them to be adopted. Regardless of when those hurts happened, their body remembers. I've told my boys that I do not understand how they feel. I cannot sympathize or empathize, I should say, with the hurt they are experiencing. Because I was fortunate enough to have my mother for 60 years. 60 years. My boys were separated from their birth mothers days after they were born. It's one of those things that, because I can't empathize exactly with what they're feeling, I can sympathize with the concept of loss and how it feels. And what I want to encourage you as adoptive parents to lean into is to think about a loss you have experienced in your life. Maybe it's the loss of a parent like I've experienced, the loss of a grandparent, a close friend, whatever that might be. And think about how you feel on the anniversary of that loss. That might get you closer to what your adopted child is feeling, especially on those important days, birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, holidays. I say this because it's a way for us to understand a little bit as to how they feel. And by understanding, to sympathize with them, show them grace on those days. I know it was Mother's Day and I was talking to my son and I could tell he was upset. And I told him, I said, "I know exactly why you're upset." And he looked at me and I said, "It's Mother's Day and she's not here." Speaking about his birth mother. A few days later, he said that was the case. He realizes it. And part of realizing those pains and realizing why your body is reacting in the way it does is foundational to actual healing. Even though it's painful to remember, lean into those pains. They can help you as you understand what your children are going through, not on the same level or to the same extreme that they're going through, but you can at least begin to understand. And hopefully it will help you to connect more with them, to show them more grace, and to help them understand it's okay to hurt. Your body remembers how you felt. Well, I wanted to share that story with you. It's actually therapeutic for me to talk about this today. The heaviness is not as intense as it was earlier. I actually journaled about it. I knew what was going on. I even reached out to a person that has been helping me understand the concept of mindfulness more and shared my story and what was going on today. So anytime you can talk about it, you can write about it, think about it, but especially writing about it, you're touching those feelings like I've talked about a lot on this podcast, because you can think a feeling, you can speak a feeling, but if you want to touch a feeling, you need to write. I want to encourage you to write. Write what you're feeling. Encourage your children to write what they're feeling. Touch those feelings. Whatever the body is telling you, touch those feelings. I wrote down, my heart feels heavy, really heavy today. And little by little, moment by moment, it started to feel a lot less heavy. I still miss my mother, but I replaced the heaviness with the gratitude of having so many years with her. Hopefully this can help you understand your children, can help them to process these very difficult and challenging emotions. That's all I have for you today. I want to thank you for listening. Until next time, this is Tim encouraging you to do what you can now. I hope today's episode encouraged you to face the storms in your parenting journey with courage and confidence. If it did, please share this episode with one adoptive parent who might need the same encouragement today. And if you haven't already, a quick review on Apple Podcasts helps more adoptive parents find the show. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now.